I have fast become a fan of this man, not just because of what he's done and what he's doing for golf and for power and stuff, because I got to meet Joe Lacaze just the other day. And Joe, you're like you're like heaven sent to me. So I so appreciate
Wow.
you for everything you've done and for joining our show. Thank you.
Well, first of all, it was a pleasure to be here with you, Mark, and thanks for having me. And that was a compliment that I haven't heard often.
Well, I'd been watching online from a long ways away, and I'd seen the Rotex system, and I'd been like, interesting. And I'm more and more interested. And then we have Eddie Fernandez on the show who swears by the system and by you. And that was the impetus to this. So thank you. Anyhow, let's kick it off with this. When you and I last talked, you made a statement that kind of resonated. It caught my attention. And then I asked you to repeat it so I could write it down. I'm going to read this back to you and let you elaborate. This is you. A strong muscle is much more flexible and resilient than a constantly stretched muscle. Now, that was like a punch between my eyes for me because I'm constantly stretching. But you shot a big hole in my theory. So please elaborate.
Um, so I taught spinal biomechanics to a group of doctoral students for 6 years in Atlanta. And one of the things that I've done to round out my education is I've become certified and extremely skilled and experienced on flexibility techniques.
Okay.
And I found in the past 5, 6 years that a strong, healthy muscle is much more flexible than a constantly stretched muscle. Um, it gets pretty complicated, but there are things in the muscles called stretch receptors.
Mm-hmm.
One thing is called a stretch receptor in the muscles, called a muscle spindle. Another thing in tendons called a Golgi tendon organ. But those are all complicated things. We'll just call them stretch receptors. So once we've stretched the muscle to where the nervous system realizes it's either going too fast or too far, it
Mm-hmm.
will shut the stretch down, even though it still feels like a stretch. So then once we get to that point,
Mm-hmm.
then we're actually stretching ligaments, and ligaments are never ever meant to be stretched. They're a protective mechanism to keep joints and muscles and fascia from going too far.
Again, this statement, folks, fans listening and watching to this, if you are listening, go to YouTube to watch because Joe is going to demonstrate. That to me, and the way you described it, Joe, was an eye popper because I was like, I'm that dude that's constantly stretching. And then you hit that point, where it hurts and your brain won't let you go any further. And then I'm educated enough to go, okay, breathe into this and then relax. Then it would stretch a little further. But I fall into the category, and the folks watching would have seen me raise my hand, where I'm like, yeah, I'm maybe more flexible than I think. It's just that my muscles aren't as strong as they should be. I would expect,
Yes.
though, and I'm getting to the question, that is probably the lion's share of the folks within earshot of you right now.
I would more than expect that. That's through experience. I've found that, and I found that when I was in clinical practice, actually, I had a group of superstars in Atlanta, at a clinic in Atlanta, and I let them do all their things, chiropractic and neuromuscular therapy and athletic trainer and all of that stuff. And then I took on the job of stretching everybody from 45 minutes to an hour and a half for each person, either upper body, lower body, or all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives great temporary relief,
Yeah.
but never solves any problem.
Mm-hmm.
The what I found fairly recently within the last 5 years, that every single muscle in the body needs to be strong. And let me just elaborate a little quicker, since I feel I have a pretty good audience here.
Mm-hmm.
Is there's a muscle that a lot of people have come out to say that it's the most important muscle in the body, and it's always too tight. It's your major hip flexor. It's called the psoas major muscle. And I was always a proponent of stretching that. But when we stretch a muscle, we make it relatively weaker to itself in relationship to itself and relatively weaker to its opposite muscle. And the opposite muscle is the glute max, the strongest muscle in our body. So we don't actively strengthen that psoas and all of our hip flexors and every single muscle in our body, then what we're doing is we're creating gaps in uh, in our body and actually what creates slack in our golf swing.
Yeah. Okay, golfers. What Joe's going to show us in just a little while is not just to create power in the golf swing. I've found with my experience with a Rotex system, it's like overall well-being that's being a part of this thing too, by getting stronger in, the posterior chain, certainly, and the glutes and the legs and such. But before we go there, your story is fascinating. So please, for our audience, Joe, just introduce yourself. Tell us about the fact that you were a Navy SEAL at one stage, and now you find yourself im- um, impacting golf in a really serious way.
Um, yeah, I'm Dr. Joe Lacaze.
Mhm.
By my doctorate, I'm a chiropractor,
Yeah.
but haven't done chiropractic in a long time. I much prefer doing exactly what I just talked about is teaching people how to make every single muscle, joint, fascial line, kinetic line, all the connective tissue strong and healthy. Um, I taught spinal biomechanics to doctoral students. I believe I already mentioned that. And by the way, I just so I don't forget, because I'm 75 years old and things fly in and out of my brain really quickly. That might happen to you eventually, Mark.
It's
Um,
happening already.
so anyhow, what I want to say is when I originally invented Rotex Motion, it had nothing to do with golf
Yeah.
at all. It was for my patients to be able to balance their body. And I realized that rotation was a big component of that, a movement that at that time everybody was missing. And I can prove that everybody was missing it because I have the three US patents on the method and the device.
Mhm.
We looked worldwide and nobody was doing rotation for some of the most important muscles of the body, loaded rotation. Uh, so anyway, as golf found me, I didn't find golf.
Okay.
I played 4 years of college golf, and I wasn't very good. I wasn't as good as I am now,
Mhm.
right? But uh, as golf found me, found Rotex Motion, that's when I started getting more and more interested in what people do in the golf swing. And Mark, I think you'll agree that no matter where we go, no matter the club that we go to, socioeconomic, like a driving range out in the country, or I just recently played national golf links in Long Island, right?
Mhm.
Recreational golfers, and I prefer that term over amateurs. Recreational golfers are not loading into a full backswing.
Yeah.
They
Absolutely.
either either they don't know how or their body cannot produce the motion because of several reasons. And that's what interests me most of all. Now, the golf industry has done a fantastic job of identifying the effects of what is caused by the body.
Yeah.
Um, Ground reaction forces through force plates, measuring what goes forward and backwards and side to side and up to down, uh, ball, shaft, club head dynamics. Um, I was fortunate enough to sit with James Lights for many days and watch him explain the 150 values that AMM provided at the time, and I'm sure it's more. Um, I have several friends that do gears. It's fascinating and unbelievable what we've done to measure the effect. But I hope I'm not speaking out of turn right here. But what I think that we're missing is that there are specific points in the body that we can train that cause the movements that we want.
I am in the process of becoming visual evidence of your point because I'm a long-time golf teacher. I've taught golf since 1996. My golf swing has shrunk over the years. The only reason why I'm hitting the ball equally as far as I used to when I was playing was because of equipment.
Mhm.
Um, but try as I might, if I watched my golf swing on video or if I was on one of the 3D system, the arm swing was too short, the body pivot was too short. I'd try and do all these things that I'm teaching people, but I did not have the facility to. But thanks to Rotex, I'm discovering that I'm unlocking that capacity. So now when my head and my brain sends the signals for the adjustment, my body can happily comply with said signals.
Yes, the nervous system, brain, will not let you do anything that threatens it.
Yeah.
It just won't let you do it. Um, I remember a long, long time ago, I saw an article in Golf Magazine or Golf Digest, where a top pro was saying you cannot play golf with a tight back. You, your brain won't let you do it.
Mm.
If no matter how much willpower you have. You know, uh, I need to thank a couple of people, Mark,
Okay.
for where I am right now.
Um,
Number one, you already mentioned him, Eddie Fernandez. Um, Eddie and I he started using Rotex 12 weeks before the 2022 Senior World Championships, and I got there. I had met him before, but I got to be with him for the entire week, and I was so fascinated that he had never ever had a back problem
mhm.
ever.
Yeah.
So fascinated, and that he was hitting at speeds like 152 mile an hour club head speed, 225 ball speed. 90% of those were going into the grid. I said, "Hey Eddie, I have to study you."
Yeah.
So really and truly, we spent 2 years every single day. We talked much more together than we did our wives, for sure. Um, but I learned everything to know about his body, and in turn of what he was doing. I never tried to change anything. I just wanted to know what he was doing, what created the success. Also, I've had the opportunity to work with Justin James,
Yeah.
um, and by the way, they do things entirely different. However, the body needs to be able to do what each one of them does. And the other person I really like to thank is the LAS, which I'm going to show a little bit later. Um, Bernie Najar has been using that since we started, and I have gotten so much great feedback, questions, guidance from him. And there's one more guy, and I'm sorry I have to leave him nameless. He's the smartest person I've ever met on the planet. I really think he's from another planet. He knows everything about everything, but he's actually helped me with the program. So anyhow, I wanted to thank those guys.
So you mentioned Bernie Najar. He's actually been on this podcast here recently, and he, of course, is the coach to Kyle Berkshire. You speak of
Yes.
Eddie and you speak of Kyle. These are guys that can bust it. So let's get to some exercises on your Rotex motion system to help people to, they won't realize it, but better well-being, but certainly more power. Tell us about the system though first, please.
Um, so when I invented it, I knew that there was a need for loaded rotation resistance and rotation to strengthen, at the time, to be honest, strengthen one muscle around the hip joint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, but now it is developed into an entire system from the bottoms of the feet to the palms of their hand. And when we think about the golf swing, we need for our feet, the bottoms of our feet to be exceptionally strong
Yeah.
and the palms of our hands to be exceptionally delicate as
Mm.
well to feel things. But strengthen, first of all, increase the range of motion, its mobility, the joints,
All right.
and stability, and then increase the flexibility in muscles. And that only happens through strength.
All right. I'm ready. I
Okay.
know our listeners and viewers are listeners again. You can go to YouTube to watch this. Joe, I'll have you step over to your system that's set up on the ground. And while you do that, I'll describe what it is. Listeners,
Okay.
you can go watch this on YouTube. The Rotex system, if you haven't seen it, essentially is a couple. of discs that are on the ground. They're on a black housing. They're tilted slightly. They're inclined in one direction. The discs rotate within the housing. And then there's the LAS system, which is like I call it a stretchy ass buster. It's
It's definitely that, and meant to be actually.
Yeah, and you can put the housing and the discs inside of that, and then you can add an element of stretching. And I'll let Dr. Joe use the correct vernacular. So
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
exercises, Joe. So hit us with number one, and folks, again, go watch this on YouTube. I'll do my best to give you the radio description. Go ahead, Joe.
Good. So first of all, we need to make, if we're making a full load in the backswing, which cures many different things. If we make a full load, then a lot of the over the top early extension, slice, sway, slide, all that stuff goes away to somewhat at least.
Yeah.
But the first thing that we need to do is make sure that we're totally mobile and stable through all the joints in our body. And this is my favorite exercise for
All right.
that. And this is, I'm on the floor models right now.
All right.
Um, and all I do is turn one way like this. And by the way, Mark is a 75-year-old man. You're doing this.
I know
Turn
you
one
become my
way,
goal, by the way. All right.
and then I'm turning back the other way. That creates an isometric contraction. When we release that, the nervous system resets and lets us go further. And we repeat, lets us go further. Then we'll repeat and lets it go further. And if we do it the other way, same thing.
This is so cool. Okay, folks, what Joe's doing for all you golf junkies out there, he's taking a bar. You can take a golf club. He's holding it cross-armed across his chest like he's doing a pivot drill, but he's standing on the Rotex plates. And as he turns back and he makes his backswing, he's turning his feet on the discs, which revolve. He's turning the feet in the opposite direction. And then he lets that go. And then that allows the nervous system to take it a little farther. He does it again. So essentially, you are working on the mobility, stability, and strength to enlarge the backswing and the through swing side. Have I described that well there?
Perfectly.
Perfect.
And Mark, every single seminar that I ever teach, especially to PGA professionals, well, your feet don't do that on golf swing. They
Yes.
don't turn like
Mhm.
that, but your ankles do.
Yes.
Right. So what
That,
you're doing is you're training, when you turn back, you're training all the fibers, the muscles, the joints, the fascia of your feet to have more mobility in your ankles.
you know what? That is so important. And no one on the show, I think, has ever referenced that. Your buddy Eddie Fernandez talked about the cuboid bone. He was the first to do that. But yes, you talk about the ankle mobility. A hero of
Yes.
mine and a hero of many, Jack Nicklaus, said his swing thought was to rotate his ankles.
Yeah.
So now
Yes.
here's Dr. Joe Lacaze, folks, showing you how you can increase ankle mobility to be able to do what the Golden Bear did.
Yeah. So the first book that I ever read, Golf My Way,
Yeah, yeah.
Jack Nicklaus, and he talked about that the golf swing originated with his feet, right? So the next thing is we're going to step over and I'll let you describe it for the folks. But Mark, since I'm not a golf professional, I'm going to talk about areas of the body rather than specific points.
Yeah.
Um, so there are certain things that need to, let me preface by saying this. Yes, there's 100, maybe 1,000 different ways to swing a golf club,
Yep.
but just like driving down a road, there has to be some kind of lines that we need to stay within
Mm-hmm.
to keep from, at least to keep from hurting ourselves.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
further we get away from a joint's natural range of motion, further we get away from it
Yeah.
in any direction, the more likely we are to create strain, pain, and injury, and maybe even permanent damage. I don't like to mention that one because I've had plenty of permanent damage, and I've managed to overcome it. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna preface these exercises on my YouTube channel I'm going to preface it by saying there is a progression to
Yeah.
go to these. These are very, very advanced. Okay.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to, you're talking about, you want me to talk about how to create a more powerful swing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
in this region here, if we talk to one golf professional, they might mention this spot. Somebody might mention this spot. Somebody might mention this spot. I have my ideas what the best spot is, but I'm not going to reveal that. Then there's a spot right here. That's the transmission. This is one side of the body. Here's the transmission to the opposite shoulder. And I'm going to show you a really great way to train that through strength of motion. So I'm going to load rotation by, this has never been done before. We've never been able to load rotation and push out, load rotation and pull in.
All right.
That's the uniqueness of this system here. So I'm going to load rotation like I would be over a golf ball. And then the first thing I think that everybody agrees with, somewhere here has to go up like this to be able to load.
Hmm.
And then that right there in the back, I already pointed to it, needs to go down toward that area. And then there's one spot, let's just call it the shoulder. Shoulder actually goes from here all the way over to the spine, but there's one exact spot. I'm not gonna say it. Let's just say the shoulder for right now.
All right.
And so if we go, I'm gonna put this down for just a second. We go here, there, and then take one particular part of the shoulder and do this.
It's perfect backswing.
And then we can push out. The brain memorizes this. And I'm going to just spend a minute to explain this because it is so, so important. You ever heard the saying, feel is not real?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
And what that means for everybody, feel is not real, is that somebody can make a perfect, beautiful backswing. But when they get over the ball and they have a little bit of tension, that swing goes haywire a lot of the time. So super important. The brain and the nervous system will preferentially select the tightest part of the body as we're loading in the backswing to initiate the golf swing. No matter what we do,
I
no
see.
matter our intent. For example, I had a really, really tight hip because of some injuries that I got in from skydiving as a Navy SEAL.
Hmm.
I had a really tight back until I solved those issues. My swing went from about 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and it didn't. The ball flight did not look like Tommy Fleetwood's. Yeah.
I want to
So
do this, Joe, while you get back on there real fast because you
yes.
described the areas. First off, folks, the first area Joe described was essentially think of the quad, the thigh, the glute muscle,
Yeah.
and then right
Yeah.
here around the front of your hip. He talked about that as number one. Then
Yeah.
number two was a spot kind of in the mid back. And then
Yeah,
number three was
let's
the
call it
knee.
the lower thoracic spine.
All right, perfect.
That part of the spine has more mobility than the lumbar spine. Lumbar spine hardly has any mobility. The lower back bones have hardly any mobility, only 2 degrees per segment.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
And then what he did was he hopped on the Rotex plates, and the plates were on the LAS system, which is essentially one of the plates is on this track that is underneath the track as some stretchy bands.
Yeah, a lot of
And
resistance here. A
a
lot of
lot of
resistance.
resistance. So
Yeah.
now he's on these discs that want to twist. And as he makes his backswing and rotates, he slides his front leg out on this track. And
Actually, I'm going to be pushing with my back.
so he's pushing off the back leg. And then he's essentially going into not a split, but he's on the way there. And
Yeah.
it makes a beautiful looking backswing. It really does.
And on the next exercise I'm going to show you, I will describe how the nervous system is going to use feel to let me get to where I want to go in my actual backswing. Okay.
Okay.
So I go here,
Yeah.
making sure that my shoulder is in the proper position, my hands are in the proper position, and I'm going to push across, and my brain feels where the shoulder should be.
Okay.
Right. And there's only, in my humble opinion, there's only one right position. So obviously I would do that the other way, which almost exactly mimics the through swing.
You know what I see here, Joe, as you do that, as you go into the stretch where you push off your back foot and your front foot slides on the LAS track.
Yeah. Yeah. You want me to
I
do it the other way?
Well, yeah, but sure. But
Yep.
what I see is a beautiful depiction of how from the top of the backswing, the lower body goes, yet you're not spinning early with the chest. Your lower segments are moving ahead of the upper body without the upper body unwinding prematurely.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Love it.
That is correct. Okay. So here's my favorite. And I want to say, if anybody is familiar with Fast Eddie, if anybody's familiar with Justin James,
Yeah.
um, Bernie Najar, um, my friend out in San Diego, the genius, when they first tried this exercise, they couldn't even attempt to do it. It was so difficult for them because these, I never even thought about this when I invented this system,
Hmm.
but these right here are so essential to be strong and healthy, the
Yep.
adductors, but we never had any loaded rotation exercises for them. Sure, we can go into a gym and find that machine, call them Good Morning Darling,
Yeah.
right? And pull in like that, but it does not even resemble in any way a golf swing. So what I'm doing here is I'm stepping on this like so, and I load
Yes.
into rotation and adduction. So now we're going to do the same thing that we just did. Put this down. We're going to go up here through that spot in the lower thoracic spine, go here with our shoulder, just like this, and then we're going to pull. And I'm telling you, my brain is telling me the exact spot right there
You're back.
that I need to connect my foot, my femur, and my shoulder, what connects in between. And it's like magic when the brain understands through tension. By the way, that's the thing that pros are able to do better than recreational golfers
Hmm.
is create tension in the backswing and compression in the through swing.
Yeah. So this is fascinating, folks. So what Joe is doing essentially is the opposite in terms of what the low body's doing to the exercise he just did. I'm assuming that you've got the band set on the opposite side of the LAS system because now the tension is being pulled inward as opposed to previously you were pushing outward in the legs. Am I correct there?
Yes, and just to explain, most people that have the LAS only have one of these. I
Okay.
just have two set up. Actually, I have three. I want to show you one more exercise. Um, uh, but all you do is you change the orientation of the floor models, and then you might actually you will have to change the tension for doing adduction because it's a lot more difficult than the pushing out. Pulling in is a lot more difficult than pushing out.
Well, you're right. I mean, when you go and sit in that machine in the gym and you put your legs essentially almost in these stirrups between your knees and you try and squeeze inwards, that's not easy. It's way easier
E-
to push outward than it is to pull inwards.
Exactly. So I've watched Eddie, I've watched Justin, I've watched uh, Bernie teach um, long drive or uh, teach power, and there are certain movements that somebody has to be able to make, to be able to do, to be able to get the power. One of them, as we discussed last time we talked, is the distance between the knee and the groin. All of those are called the adductors. There's some internal rotators as well, internal thigh rotators. When we go here and we go into transition, I just saw Justin Rose
Push.
on a post pushing with his foot
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah.
But this right here has to snap like that and go up. And we've got no chance of doing that without hurting ourselves. Zero chance unless this is strong and healthy. That's I'll give you the name of that muscle. It's called the vastus medialis. That's the inside thigh muscle.
That is so fascinating, folks, because audio listeners, again, go to YouTube And you can go check out Dr. Joe's channel too. He's got all these exercises on there. But he was talking about, the push-up move. Everyone's heard it. We leverage the ground reaction forces and stuff. And Joe's contending that it's not just a lead leg thing, that the trail leg and the pushing from the inside of the trail leg is massively influential in this move properly. If you're just trying to push off the one leg only, then you aren't getting the full benefit of the move.
Yeah, exactly. You're with the front part, I think, Mark, and you're the guy. I'm not the
Mhm.
guy, right? But the front part, what you're doing is you're creating depth or creating
Width.
space
Yeah, yeah.
so you can swing through with your power side as hard as you can.
Hmm.
The best guy I've ever seen that, and he brings his front foot off the ground is a guy named James Tate. You're familiar? European champion.
Okay.
I will guarantee you his backswing has a faster club head speed than most PGA pros do downswing. Yeah. One more exercise for you, Mark.
Yes, please do that.
You haven't done this one.
Okay, we get it, folks.
So
We're getting the camera turned around. Joe's got a very cool
yeah,
setup there in Orlando where he lives. You're in Orlando, right?
I am in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Oh, forgive me. I'm not even
That's
close.
right.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah. Let me move this back just a tiny bit more. And you see that bench is in the, yeah,
I see
there we
the
go.
bench. Yep.
So I have this set up. It's another one of those that was on the floor. It's the same exact machine.
Okay, so it's
I
the
have it set
Rotex
up with
machine.
the proper resistance. We can turn this upside down, push up. We can pull it down. Every single exercise we can do on our shoulder. But the key is, Mark, we're adding ground force as we do all of these exercises. And so what I'll do is I'll get into the impact position
Mm-hmm.
and I'll kick that leg out of the way. I got my depth now, and then
Wow.
pull down like that. That that really strengthens everything that we've been talking about. Um, that's the strength component. First of all, we have to establish the stability and mobility component, and then we can begin uh, establishing the strength component. And like I say, it's youtube.com/ROTEXMotion. And then anybody can go to playlist and then they can see all of our stuff for the regular Rotex motion and the LAS machines.
Okay, well, that begs the question too. For the folks who want to get a system, Joe, where do they go for that, please?
There's two places where where we have a store. One is rotexmotion.com,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one is our free Rotex Motion app.
Okay, sensational. And
Mhm.
you can get everything you need there from the LAS system to the handheld system, which is great. For the folks, what Joe was just doing who aren't watching, he's built a wooden stanchion, if you will, and he's got a Rotex plate on there, but with a handheld where he was opening up and then pushing. I can imagine your core and your pecs lighting up when
It's
you were doing that, push and
yeah,
twist.
it's amazing. It makes you very strong. So one last thing I would like to end on
Mm-hmm.
is that every time I go to the golf course to play, is I'm not sure if I'm going to be the best guy on the golf course that day, but I know for a matter of fact I'm going to be more ready to play. My body's going to be more ready to play than anybody that shows up
Well,
every single time, every time.
well, I'll tell you this: it's 75, you three over par, but you look like you're about 10 under physically. You've become my new goal because I can see how doing these exercises, like I mentioned, yeah, it's going to benefit your golf swing, but it's benefiting your well-being more than anything
Yeah,
else.
yeah. If I can quote Bernie Najar, he
Yeah.
said, "It is anti-aging," and he's been doing this for about 4 months.
Well, he was on the show and he said to me, he goes, I still swing the club at 115 miles an hour. And I nearly spat out my coffee. I was like, for real?
Well, I saw him 118 very recently. Yeah,
Okay, well,
yeah.
look, folks, the proof is in the pudding, and I'm here to tell you that I got a system. It's in my garage in my refinery. I have not really gotten into it, but I've done some of the exercises Dr. Joe referenced, and I can feel a difference right away. And the thing is, Joe, I can position myself in those things, but it's different to move in there and have to engage everything required in terms of the musculature to get there. And therein lies the sweet spot for training, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, sir. I agree because it has to be an automatic for you as a teacher,
Yeah.
right? You're you're going to be able to communicate, feel a lot better when you know that the student or the player can feel exactly what you want them to feel because it's automatic. You put them in this position right here and you have them push, they're going to feel exactly what you feel, exactly what you want them to feel.
Absolutely love it too. And I've used the term because I've heard it being said. I've heard the term where people are like, well, you got to feel alive in your body and you got to feel your muscles engaged and stuff. Yeah, you can sort of position that some, but never to the extent of what you are when you're on those plates. I'm living proof and I vouch for this. I put my heart behind this. And if you're serious about your golf swing, getting these is almost a must do.
Yep. And Mark, personally, I look forward to working more with you on this. And yeah, this is going to be fun.
It really is. Thank you so much for your time, Joe. I appreciate your interest in us and being prepared to share this. I'm so excited to continue to shine a light on these things because this is going to be a game changer. Because as a golf instructor and as a learner, learning the concept is one thing, understanding the concept is another. But then being able to turn that learning and understanding and the knowledge into feel and wake up your body at the same time, that is the uncharted territory where you are helping us go. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your format.